Welcome to Canada's Court. Today, I'm joined by the King of Hustle. Literally, he won an award for it, so you can't really argue it. This is a man who embraced the Toronto Raptors so much that he once shaved a Raptors claw logo into the back of his head. And as legend tells it, he bought all the Drake CDs at a handful of Toronto stores and just gave them out for free. I am honored today to be joined by Amir Johnson. Amir, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Oh man, thanks for having me.
How have you been?
I've been good, man. I've been here in Las Vegas, coaching with the G League Ignite. It's keeping me very busy, and I've been doing pretty good.
Awesome. I got to ask, I mentioned it in the intro. You shaved the Raptors logo into the back of your head. Tell me a bit about that.
Just embracing, the Toronto atmosphere, the team, loving, everything about Toronto. I just wanted to embrace it. Um, Never knew too much about Canada, and I just knew about Vince Carter and all that. And once I got there, I fell in love with it. So just showing
Have you made
support.
it back to Toronto at all lately?
A lot I have. My daughter was born there. She goes to school there. Still have property in Toronto. So I do make my way out there. Oakville too. That's where
Nice,
property is.
nice. Uh, um, you spent 6 years in Toronto. You just said how much you loved it and you embraced it. What
Mhm.
did Toronto mean to you?
It was basically kind of like me growing up. I kind of put it in a way like this. When I first got drafted in '05 to the Pistons, that was kind of like my just welcome to the NBA. Had a lot of help from the veteran team in 2005 there with a lot of great players, a lot of knowledge. And once I left there to Toronto, I had all that knowledge with me going to a different team. I think I had my best career years in Toronto, and I was able just to kind of, blossom like a butterfly out there and, expand my game. Um, Not even on the court, just off the court way of living. Um, and just kind of, grew up there in Toronto almost.
That's a big change, though, going from, you played in Detroit, which actually not too far from Toronto, but getting traded, going to Canada. What was your first thoughts when that happened?
Um, just keeping for me, I just kept an open mind. I didn't know too much about Canada, but once I got out, started to know about you know, stuff they do around Canada. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it, doing the zombie walk, knowing about poutine and going to Mississauga, going to Scarborough, and going to all these different areas in Canada, just realizing how big, got into hockey for the first time, didn't know about hockey, knew the Maple Leaves. Probably first time on ice skates, doing Canada, going to Wonderland. Is Canada's just so much stuff, I didn't realize about, and I just came with open mind and embraced it. And once I did it, I'm like, this is awesome. And I think once I got there, I never went back. I'm from California, didn't go back home. Um, After the season's over, I just stayed in Canada because it was just so much to learn and know about Canada. And I stayed there for like 6 years, just lived out there. Usually
That's
guys go,
interesting.
yeah, guys go home for the summer. I just loved it so much, I stayed there.
What's really interesting is because at that time when you came to Toronto, now the perception's changed since, but at that time it was kind of looked at, do you really want to go to Canada? That's you got to go through customs all the time. But you really, it seems like you had the mindset going in of I'm going to embrace this.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people do not know about, Canada, but once they get there, they're like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? And then you just gotta experience it. If you know, you know. People can talk about it a lot. And they be like, I don't know, Canada customs and all that. But once you get there, man, it is just a great atmosphere.
Well, and as you said, you're from California, a bit of a weather difference comparatively, but the summers are good. Summers are good.
Summers are great. They're actually really really hot. They have awesome festivals out there to do with the Caravana. That was a culture shock for me experiencing that. With the Drake doing the OVO Fest was pretty awesome to see that. definitely a weather change, but I experienced that once I got to Detroit. That was my kind of experience. When it snowed, I thought the city would be shut down because there was snow on the ground, but that was not the case. I actually had to learn how to maneuver around snow and drive in it and get my window scrapers and all that stuff. So I was pretty experienced once I got to Toronto with that.
There you go. Your time in Toronto obviously spanned kind of multiple iterations of the team. You were there when Chris Bosh's last years there. You were also at the beginning of the return to playoffs, what a lot of people call the We the North era. And I would say if you could call the middle of that time the Young Guns era. Could you tell
Oh
me a
yeah.
little bit about the Young Guns?
Yeah, so I've been through a few eras of Toronto. It's kind of been like a roller coaster, up and down roller coaster. Playing with a bunch of great players, Chris Bosh. I think we had Rasho, we had a Claza, we had a bunch of guys that were just awesome, man, and sure some good relationships with them. Um, Again, I think everybody was just kind of new to the city. DeMar, knowing him being from LA too, back home, we all just wanted to embrace it and make something happen. And I think once Chris Bosh left, we felt like we had to step up. Like everybody was just kind of upset, like CB didn't sign back, and then you had this whole Miami thing, and we felt like, oh, what about us? We're still the young guns, you know what I mean? We still could play and make something happen, and we did that. We just had to scratch and claw. We had some bad years, but we've worked really hard. I think our time there we spent with two coaches, and we just worked our butt off, just to try to get a buzz in the city. We just didn't want it to be just a hockey, city. We wanted to make some noise, and I think we that year when we finally like won our conference and made it to the playoffs, man, it was just something to be proud of. And now look at Toronto; they often won a championship, which was awesome. Super proud of that, and that's what we dedicated ourselves, just to get this city back on the map and to make some noise.
You mentioned Chris Bosh. When he left, was that surprising, or did you guys kind of feel like the writing was on the wall there and that he was probably going to be out the door?
We probably knew. We know this is a business and anything can happen. And I knew from my first couple years, or my first time getting traded, and when I was in Detroit, and I actually got traded twice in a day, which is like I was just like, oh, that's unbelievable. Like I got a lot of people on this. I got traded to San Antonio to Milwaukee. No, and then I played the summer league with Milwaukee, and I got traded again to Toronto. So I'm just like, man, this is a real life business. So my mindset, like, anything could happen. Like I was fortunate too. That was the summertime. I all got traded, so I didn't have to move like during the middle of the season. But everybody knew it was a business decision for Chris.
Okay, so fun question here. You played with some really awesome dunkers during your time as the Raptor. Who do you
Yeah.
think is the best dunker you played with?
The best dunker, I would have to say my draftee, uh, Joe Green. Joe
Gerald Green.
Green, yeah, he has absolutely. I think he won the dunk contest too,
Yeah.
and he actually beat me in the McDonald's All American High School dunk contest. So he's been jumping for a long time, man. And when I played with him in Boston, man, he still had the same. I think he still got hops to this day. You know what I mean, so I would say Joe Green.
He did the cupcake dunk in the one dunk
He
contest, am I
did the
right?
cup dunk. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I
I was
remember.
I was there to witness that. Yeah.
Let's go back to the 2013-2014 season. The team is struggling, and Masai Ujiri trades Rudy Gay. And then after that, the team really heats up. Can you tell me a bit about like what happened there? Because it was like a huge difference after that trade.
I just felt like it was just next person up. I just felt like it was just all the mindset of coaches we had playing basketball. It's always, if you stay ready, you don't have to be ready. So it was just okay. Again, like we experienced like Chris Bosh leaving, or we experienced guys leaving. So it's just like we still got to go and do our job and play. And that was just everybody's attitude in the locker room. Like, okay, we lost Rudy. I think it was during the game in LA playing the Lakers. I think it was Kobe's return. I can't remember whatever the fact was, but we all just said like, okay, this team is going through a rebuilding stage. We still gotta go out there and play. And now it's just everybody's mindset.
So the team responds. You guys end up winning the division. You make the playoffs, and you're going up against the Nets, which was a really huge moment getting back into the playoffs for the team. The city was like supercharged, I feel like. How did that feel? Tell me a bit about like what the atmosphere was like around that playoff series.
Well, first of all, we were just super stoked about just making it there because we worked so hard to get to the playoffs. And we knew Brooklyn, wanted to make a statement just for, KG, Paul Pierce, and all those guys leaving Boston, and they felt like they could win a championship here, but we all wanted to kind of ruin that. And just that whole series, man, we gave it our all, man. Everybody was just as locked in as much as I've ever seen them. Um, we just came up short, man. I think it was game 7 in Toronto. I think I had fouled out, and it was just they had a good team, man. They had some great vets that just were just vet savvy. They had Joe Johnson, um, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. Did they have Jason Terry? I can't remember. They had some good vets that won championships beforehand. So, and we were just trying to get to their level. And again, we played our heart out. We just came short, and not only we wanted to do it for ourselves of how work we hard, we definitely just wanted to do it for the city because the city just that Jurassic Park and everything, that was like something we'd never seen before when they started doing that. And it was just a great run we had. Just came up short.
Now during that series, Paul Pierce had some smack talk. Masai Ujiri had a choice word for the Brooklyn Nets. It was a lot of kind of like media drama, I suppose, going around that game. As a player, were you able to kind of like just phase that out, or did it more of like fuel you along with like the atmosphere you're already in?
More fuel, and I was more locked in on our strategies. Like when it comes to the playoffs, like you play these guys over and over. So you sit there, you can't sleep, and you just think of ways to deteriorate their offense, just to find ways to play defense on these great players. And that was literally my focus, like constantly watching film, like what is his tendencies that he does if I guard him this way, or if I shade him left or I shade him right. We were just constantly just trying to figure out ways of like switch, if I make him drive. Like that was like the outside media stuff was cool. That thing brought fuel to the fire, but we were really just scheming and game planning on how to beat these guys.
You were matched up against Kevin Garnett, which is no easy task. You were up against Kevin Garnett, right?
I
And
was up against Kevin and I guarded Paul Pierce for a while. So I had those two matches. Then I even guarded Joe Johnson a little bit, which he fouled me out, which was tough. But I was just trying
what
to match up with anybody to get a stop by any means.
were they giving you the trash talk on the court? Because Kevin Garnett's famous for his trash talk, and Paul Pierce a little bit too. What was that aspect like?
It was trash talk, but it wasn't necessarily towards me because I was just so focused. Um, I really didn't have time to trash talk because it's just like it was just next play. Okay, next play. Like, oh, I got to be here. I got to be on help defense, and that's some of the stuff I actually try to teach these young guys. Like, defense wins games on the grand scheme of things. The game slows down. You have to be in the right position every time, because that little error could lose you a game. So that was my focus. It was just hard to kind of talk trash when you're not in the help side and you're gonna yell at the ref or yell at your defender. You got to be there to help out your brother, and that was something that was so important in the series or even in the NBA. Can you just imagine a young guy that already knows how to you know be in the right positions or know how to play NBA defense? And if you look at today's NBA, there's not a lot of rookies that are playing right now. You know what I mean? Just because they got to get that experience and learn. There's Wembanyama playing. I think Brandon Miller comes off the bench. Scoot comes off the bench. There's just a few guys, you know what I mean, that get a chance to actually start right away. If not, they have to develop for a few years and be on, a coach's game plan or strategy, because that's the toughest thing to learn.
Yeah,
Talking
just
shit's
talking
fun.
about. Sorry, say that again.
But talking mess is fun too. I feel like I only can do that when we're up by a few points. Not
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You're talking about defense. You obviously, a big part of your game was your defense. When
yes.
did you sort of have to make that adjustment? Because you come in, you're McDonald's All American. You've got a lot of pedigree, but then you're asked to take on more of a defensive role. What's that kind of adjustment like as a player, or was it something you were already ready for?
Well, when you normally come to the NBA and you're this great high school All-American college guy, you're not going to get the ball. They already have guys in place. They have their Steph Currys, they have their Kawhis, they have their Chris Pauls, they have all these guys that are established scorers. So the way you can get on the court is by playing defense. And most of these superstar guys, they don't play defense. Their job is to strictly, get buckets. And if you want to get on the floor, you're going to have to be the best defender possible. And the way I took it is like, okay, we have these scores. Like, if I can play defense, I can be in on these crunch time plays in the fourth quarters, and I don't think I ever had a play drawn up for me, but I can get offensive rebounds and I can get tip ins and I can average, a double double and get paid a lot of money just by doing those certain things. So I just took pride in it. I was excited about setting screens on guys and getting guys up and getting shots or getting rebounds and getting putbacks. And it's helping my team. We're winning. And I feel like if we're winning, everybody, gets paid, or everybody does great. If we're winning, nobody really cares of who did what. They only remember of who won the game at the end of the day. Stats and accolades are great, but if you're winning, if nowadays your plus and minus is a plus every time you're on the floor with DeMar or Jimmy Butler, if your plus is all the way up, you're going to be able to play with any team on the NBA, and those teams are going to want you. And those are players I look for too, guys, because that was me, guys that just know how to play defense and know how to be the game. Those are guys I like.
What's it like to see? You mentioned Demar. Him still. He's played a lot of years now. You were with him for his rookie season, and he's still going strong.
Yeah, man, he is a relentless. He works so hard, man, and I've seen it firsthand. Like, this dude, he would even travel in the middle of nowhere and just focus strictly on his game. And he's been like that forever, man. Like, when we were in Toronto, man, he used to just late night get shots up, morning get shots up, and it was just relentless. It was constant. It was like not a time. He did not stop. Even when he had his first kid, he would have the baby in the gym with him, shooting shots or shooting free throws. Man, he is just a hard worker. Even when you see him now, man, he even takes some of the young guys that he's with in Chicago and have them work out in the summer with him. He's a guy that not it's just not by mistake. He puts in the work for him to just keep on going. And again, he can probably play with any team right now if he wanted to.
That's awesome. What was it like for you? You mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but after spending all these years in Toronto, been through some tough times, got to the playoffs, had some good times. But then after you leave the team, seeing them go on to win that championship in 2019, you played with a few of the guys who went on to win that championship. What was that like to watch, both, as someone who played with those players, but also as someone who really valued the city and the fans there?
Oh man, I was I was happy for Toronto, and then at the same time I was upset because like I felt like that series when we played when I was with Philly and we played Toronto and Kawhi made that shot, man. I just seen my chance of like getting a ring just kind of fade away, but at the same time, like, oh damn, Toronto's winning. Like so that's cool, but it was against me, so it's just like oh crap. But it was amazing for the city to see everybody, friends I know, how to react and how live it was. The parade, man, was awesome. I wish I would have went to it, but I was like, we're Philly. The time the parade looked cool, and it was just great. It was just awesome. The city definitely needed that, man. And again, like if we would have beat Toronto that series, I felt like that was my chance of getting my first ring. But
So what was that like then, seeing that Kawhi shot? That's one of the most maybe epic moments in definitely in Toronto basketball history.
right, it almost
Where were you for that?
I was on the bench, man, and like everything was just in like slow motion, man. It almost looked fake. Like everybody, I remember like being on the bench and like everybody's just standing there for a minute, and then we're like, we didn't kind of believe like just what happened, so we just stood there just to kind of just replay it. And once we saw the replay on the board, how it went in, we were just like, okay, we just all just walked off the court, man. It was like, it was an unbelievable shot, man, to make over Joel. It was again, that was like some kind of like some Hoosier type movie, you know what I mean? Like in a surreal like movie type thing you're watching when you just made that shot over Joel, but you know what I mean? It was a good shot.
Yeah, there's not much you can do when someone hits a shot like that. You kind of, because you guys were right there. Obviously, it was a tie game. It was a competitive series. I think it's fair to say, whoever won that one was had a good shot at the championship for
For
sure.
sure, for sure, because I think Golden State was injured at that time, and you know what I mean, and it was all open for picking, so Toronto came up the victors.
Now, afterwards, you ended up playing some time with the G League Ignite, and now you're hired on as the coach there.
Hmm.
What's that been like? Because that's kind of a bit of a different pro coaching job than probably your average position.
Yeah, I never really thought I would be coaching, but with me playing with Ignite, I played with them through the pandemic. We were in the G League bubble at Disney. Um, Played with some great young stars, man, that are up and rising with Jonathan Kaminga, Jalen Green. You got Marjon Beauchamp. You got Dice Daniels. These guys, seeing them just from playing with them and see where they are now, and then the next group in, and I play with them and seeing how they got better, with working with these guys and playing with them, and it was just felt like it was just like a no brainer. Like I've been here playing for 2 years, and even when I didn't play like the last year, I just came up here and just kind of worked with some of the young guys, and Jason Hart hit me up. He was like, "Man, all our team. You've been here since day one." He's like, "Well, why not come and be, coach or player development?" And again, I didn't really thought about coaching. I just really like the aspect of just, you know, giving advice, experience. And when he brought that up, and I was just like, you know what? I live here in Vegas, and I was like, let me give it a shot. And again, my best teaching ability is by experience. Like I know drills too. I've been doing them all my life, so I can put the kids through all type of drills. And again, like this experience that's passed down from my vets from in Detroit, from Toronto, I'm able to pass along and tell them what I did, especially at the ages they are, because these kids are out of high school and that was me. I was 18 you know, going right into the fire, the Pro Bowl. They get a chance to go to the G League, play against some pros, and then go to the big team. So it was just a no-brainer for me to take this coaching job, and I'm loving it. Learning some new stuff. I'm learning how to, sports code, you know, watch film with different apps they have. I wish I would have used during my career, which is pretty cool to see the breakdown film that they have, and I'm just constantly learning. It's always room to learn.
Now, like you just mentioned, you went right from high school to the NBA. Actually, fun trivia fact: the last player to go right from high school
Yes,
to the
that was
NBA. Go ahead, sorry.
that was on Jeopardy. I don't know if you ever watched Jeopardy.
Was it? It did make it on Jeopardy.
No,
Okay, I because I always thought
no, it didn't.
that.
I wish it was.
You got me. Someday, if there's an NBA Jeopardy, that has to be on it.
For sure. I don't think anybody would guess that answer too. They'd be like, Kobe? No.
Raptors fans. I think Raptors fans might be able to guess it. The
But
diehards. The
yeah,
diehards.
they would, but the people on the show, they would have to be from
Yeah,
Canada.
that's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But having that experience, do you think? What do you think of this? Like an opportunity like this could have had on your career if you had an option like that.
Of what? Coaching or what?
No, the G League, like a program like the G League Ignite, where instead of going to the university, you can go right to the pros and kind of prepare yourself for a basketball career.
I think it's cool. I think it's a bunch of different outlets now that you just get to pick and choose now. There's so many things, opportunities. You can go overseas. You can go to college. You can go to the G League. When I came to the league, there was the D League, development league. So I got there. I was able to actually go get a chance to go down there and play and come back up with the big team. So it was still basically the G League or development league. I'm going there and get my work in. But I think all these different outlets to get these young kids the experience of playing on a pro level is pretty cool now. And then now you get paid to go to college too. So I think that's good. NIL deals. I think that's awesome. So you can pick and choose.
Now you've played with a lot of these younger players. Now you're coaching them. What's kind of like the number one piece of advice you're giving them as you coach them?
I think I would probably say make sure you create a routine, and you stick with it, whatever that routine is, to get you focused on your goal or your dream or the task ahead, and never lose that. Because all the great players, or it depends on wherever you want to go in your career, but if you look at all the great players, they have their routine, and some more than others are so locked in, they kind of block out everything else. But stick with the routine, and I think the best players now are just players that that listen, that that are coachable, that can take advice, and apply it to their game. That's pretty much
Awesome.
it. Yeah.
That sounds like great advice. I think not just for basketball, but probably for life as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've got one final question for you. It's a bit of a hard question.
Okay.
I have a signed pair of basketball shoes on display here.
All
They
right.
were signed by a former member of the Toronto Raptors, and
Okay.
it's going to be my new thing. I'm going to be asking people as they come on if they can guess whose shoes they are. I'm going to just see if I'll pull it down here. So this is the shoe. Can you guess? I don't know how well you can see there. Can you guess the signature on the shoe? I'll give you one hint. You did play with him.
Okay.
And it's a size. I don't know if size matters here. Size. Oh, it doesn't know what the size. I can't see what the size is. Never mind.
Did he actually wear those shoes?
Supposedly, yes.
He wore KDs.
He wore KDs. That's what. Yeah, it's a signed pair of game worn shoes.
Trying to think who wear KDs I played with. It would have to be somebody younger. Uh,
Size 14.
is it Terrence Ross?
No. Bruno Caboclo.
He's a young
There
guy
you
for
go.
sure.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So
Oh,
fair enough. Most people aren't able to guess that. It's
yeah.
a very obscure piece of memorabilia, but close. Terrence Ross. That's a good guess. That's a
Yeah,
good
I was
guess.
just thinking of young guys as rookies. And yeah, Bruno, I forgot. And there was another Brazilian guy named Bebe. What's his name? Bebe. I forget his last.
Bebe Nagara. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Bebe Nagero. That was a good one. It took me a while.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, Amir. It's great to hear
Thank you.
all about your awesome times in Toronto, and glad that things are going so well with the G League Ignite.
I appreciate you. I'll probably, man, see you around one of these days in Toronto.
I sure hope so. You'll have to maybe we'll go buy some Drake CDs and give them out again.
For sure. For sure.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Peace. Oh, he said leave a